True Blue software featuring True Vantage. Create a work order and then invoice it. We will select a piece of serialized equipment that you are selling and installing for the customer on the work order, complete the work order, invoice the work order, and then look at the initial equipment history it created. Then we will go back and do a service call on that piece of equipment to see how it generated service history against the equipment. First, the inventory item needs to be flagged as equipment. Second, it has to be flagged as being serialized. Create a work order selecting that customer. This customer will pull into the invoicing module automatically when invoicing this work order. Select the codes on the Work Order tab and then click on the drop-down arrow to the Schedule Date field, and it will bring up the Technician Availability Grid as shown next. The trouble code and technicians are assigned to skill levels. When you assign a trouble code to a work order, the Technician Availability Grid will look to that skill level assigned to the trouble code, and it will match it to all the technicians with that same skill level, so when the Technician Availability Grid loads, you will see just the technicians that are qualified to do this work order. When assigning the technician to the work order, it will look at the time assigned to the trouble code to know how much time to block out for this call. Click in the time field you wish this call to start, and it will block out this time. Now click on Select, and it will assign that technician to this work order as shown next. Now you can see the technician is assigned to the work order. This technician will pull into the invoicing module automatically when invoicing the work order. After the work order is complete and the technician collected money from the customer, you can edit the work order and attach that money collected on the Payments tab. This will pull into the invoicing module automatically. Or the billing person can enter the money collected in the invoicing module, bypassing the work order. If this work order was against a contract, you would assign that contract to the work order here. After invoicing the work order, it will post cost against that contract. If this work order was to service a piece of equipment that the customer has, then you would attach that piece of equipment here so it will create service history against the piece of equipment. The proposal section will be explained later in a different demo. Select the inventory that the technician will need to do the work order. It will print on the work order. This inventory will pull into the invoicing module automatically when invoicing the work order. Or the billing person can select the inventory used in the invoicing module, bypassing the work order. If you do flat rate and not T&M, then you can select the tasks that were performed on this tab, and they will pull into the invoicing module automatically. Or the billing person can select the task performed in the invoicing module, bypassing the work order. A flat rate work order will be shown in a different demo. Once you are done creating the work order, click on the Save and Exit icon. Now click on the Dispatch Grid icon and it will display this next screen. The work orders assigned to the technicians will appear on the right side of the dispatch grid under their column name. They will sort by date, then sort by the priority code that you gave the work order. As the technicians do each work order, you can timestamp them as dispatched, arrived, started, and complete. This will be your labor time that you invoice the customer for. To access these different timestamps, first left-click on the work order, then right-click and it will display this next screen. Select the timestamps option and it will display this next screen. It will list the work order number and assignment number in the title bar of the screen. The dispatch stamp. After using this timestamp, it will show a traffic light to show the tech is on their way to this call. The arrived and started stamps, after using either one, it will show a blue check mark to show the tech has arrived. Complete work order stamp. After using this timestamp, it will remove the work order from the dispatch grid. Now that the work order has been done and time-stamped, it is now time to invoice that work order in the invoicing module as shown next. Click on the New button. Next, select the transaction date. Now type in that work order number in this field and press the Enter key on the keyboard. It is recognizing that the inventory that was selected on the work order and pulling it onto the invoice for you. Click on Yes to pull in the inventory. If it was not selected on the work order, then the billing person would have to select it in here in the invoicing module. After clicking on Yes to pull the inventory in, you will get a screen to see the quantity that it is pulling on to the invoice. If it is a serialized piece of equipment, then it will display the above screen for you to select the serial number you just installed for the customer. Notice how it pulled the customer and technician that was selected on the work order onto the invoice. Now you can see the inventory item that was selected on the work order. To add the labor, click on the Add Extras button and it will display this next screen. This is where you can add in the different labor rates you may offer. Notice to the right of the Cancel button, it is a gray area. After highlighting a labor, the text on Dispatch field appears. Click on the drop-down arrow and it will display the texts that are on this work order. After selecting the text, the Quantity field will then pull in the hours from the timestamping as shown next. It pulled in the timestamp hours. Now click on OK and it will bring you back to the invoice screen. If you click on the Money Collected button, it will show the money that was entered on the Payments tab in the work order. Again, the billing person can enter this in bypassing the work order. The Job Description tab. The upper section is used for a short comment and is viewed in the Customer module when looking at this invoice as a transaction. The lower section will print on the invoice for the customer to see what was performed and will also appear in the Notes button in the service history. The Spell Check button works with the lower section. Because the Create Service History is checked off, it will automatically create service history for you once the invoice has been committed. If you have the Print Serial Numbers checked off, it will print the serial number if one is selected on the invoice under the inventory item. If you have the Show Postings checked off, it will give you a breakdown of all the general ledger accounts it is going to post to once you commit the invoice. You have to print and/or preview the invoice before the Commit button is active. So click on the Print button and it will display this next screen. This screen gives you a few options of how you wish to print the invoice or if you wish to email the invoice to the customer and not print. We will email the invoice. Now click on the Commit button and it will display this next screen. Because we are invoicing a work order, it will ask you to close it out if the dispatcher did not close it out in the Service Dispatch module. Because we have it checked off to show the posting screen, it will show you the general ledger accounts that it will post to. After clicking Close to the posting screen, it will then give you this message that the invoice has been committed. Click on OK. Now let's check some other areas that posted data as well due to invoicing this work order. In the Customer module, when you look up that customer, you can see the invoice posted to that customer's record. You can also see the small comment from the Job Description tab from the Invoicing module. You can also see that the invoice was emailed to the customer. Now if you click on the Equipment History icon, it will display this next screen. This Customer tab will list all of the customers that have equipment on file. It does not list all of your customers in the database, just customers who have equipment on file. After invoicing Mr. Gray for the serialized equipment we sold and installed for him, it automatically entered him in the Customer Equipment icon as shown above. Now highlight him and click on the Equipment tab. The Equipment tab will list all the equipment the customer has. If you scroll over to the right, it will show you the invoice number when we invoice the customer for the equipment and will also show the serial number. So by invoicing the customer for the equipment, it automatically entered it in here as equipment history. Now let's go back and do a service call on that piece of equipment to see how it generated service history against the equipment. Create a work order, and on the Contract, Equipment, and Proposal tab, assign that piece of equipment to the work order. Now invoice that work order, and notice after pulling the work order into the invoice that the equipment is on the equipment field automatically. It is pulling from that Contract, Equipment, and Proposal tab from the work order. Now print and commit this invoice. Now go back to the customer equipment and highlight it, and then click on the Service History tab, and it will display that service history as shown next. Now it will show the work order number and the invoice number for that service call. If you would like to schedule a live demo, please call this 800 number. And thank you for watching our demo. We hope to hear from you soon.